Hey everybody, my name is Russ, that is Lauren, and we are doing our Sunday vinyl video. On the channel here, we try to make sure that we cover as many different aspects of vinyl as we can. So like when there's new releases that come out and we pick them up, we'll try and get to them as we can. But one thing that I think is really important that we do as well, because I have the perspective of a person who's owned thousands of records and a bunch of original pressings and different mixes, and Lauren has a perspective of someone who's new enough to it to where almost every time we pick up a record, or if we're at a record store, I'm always like, okay, we'll pick that up because it's this mix or that version or whatever, or we are not picking that up because it's that mix. So I know that it's hard to find objective opinions on YouTube, because as a person who used to spend $200-300 on a certain mix or a certain original pressing, or a certain even line of pressing down the line of records, you start to convince yourself that, oh, well, I spent this much, so this must be the best version of it, right? So continuing down that line, we are going to share today our thoughts on the mono mix reissue of Pink Floyd's second album, A Saucerful of Secrets. This is back from 1968, and I would argue that anybody who says to you, oh, I have original mono mix from 1968, either is a very wealthy individual or lying. So it's one of those records that just was, Pink Floyd was not the gargantuan commercial act that they would become until at least, Dark Side of the Moon's their seventh record. This is their second. So, it's several years later.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's a ton of copies of this floating around. I will get one thing out of the way before we even get into everything. Mono versus stereo. I used to be one of those people that never cared at all. Like, I would be like, why is there that big of a deal about mono versus stereo? And when the Beatles came out with a mono box set, coming up on, I think, about 10 years ago now, I read this really good article that explained like why you should care about mono versus stereo. And it basically comes down to how it was mixed originally. For example, the four Beatles, the only mixes they ever all four signed off on are the mono mixes. So when you hear the stereo mix of any Beatles record, you're hearing either something one of them was involved with, where they may have decided that one person should be louder than another. Or even George Martin, who we all know and love. Maybe he said, well, this is how this should sound to me. And even with like Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys, everybody always says, oh no, but mono's the way Brian wanted it. Nope. You don't ever listen to the stereo version. Brian. Well, years later, Brian Wilson did sign off on a stereo mix. So, at that point, it's like, okay, well, yes, it was in mono, it comes down to how you want to hear it.
Yeah.
Right. And also a lot of times too, with mixes, it depends on how you heard it in the first place.
Right. Actually, you brought up the Pet Sounds thing, and the one CD copy I had of Pet Sounds had both. It played the album through twice. And I was at the age where I was like, why is this?
Yeah,
why is this? I don't know. Cause I was listening to it on like a cheap boombox and I couldn't hear the difference anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So having said that, we're going to go through a couple of different things that we always go through with this stuff, starting with the packaging. I will say in advance, and I already brought this up with the Beatles mono box set is like is the standard by which all things should be measured. The packaging, the reprints that they did on those Beatles records are perfect. Like, you would have a very hard time telling an original from that, and from outer sleeve on. The good folks at the Sony Corporation, or who's ever in charge of the Pink Floyd reissues, decided to like almost hit it on the nose, but not quite. For example, there's without using all the technical terms on the Beatles stuff, there's back in the day the way that the album covers used to be done. They basically would have glue on the outside, and it would flip. There'd be a flip over tab that would go to the back cover.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That is it. On the Beatles reprints, they did that. And on the Pink Floyd one, it's a printed line that looks like, not the end of the world, but something that if I was getting into, if that mattered to me, like, it doesn't matter to me. One of the famous things I say on the channel is you don't play the cover. But I can, just to be clear, I can understand any Pink Floyd fan being like, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, if you really want a copy that's original in that way, I'll tell you right now, that's not happening here. I call it good enough, but it's not good enough for many other collections. I remember when the Beatles thing came, people were like, it's one of the reasons why that set goes for thousands, $2,000-$3,000 now, because of the way that they reprinted it. So for the packaging, I would call good enough for me, but probably not for other folks. I love the big, huge hype sticker on the front. That's like basically like in so many words, it's like, if you care about mono, this is the mono version, sound. Like all of the other Pink Floyd reissues that have happened since 2016, is fantastic. It's fantastic. And as I labored the point earlier, I've grown to understand more why and how someone would want to listen to the mono mix of things. It's for me, like this is the way this was done originally, was mono. I know, we all know that Roger would be heavily involved with anything sound-wise that's coming out. So I don't think there's ever a question of, does Roger Waters hate the stereo mix? Does David Gilmour hate the stereo mix? Because these men are known for being overly opinionated on their artwork. Neither of them have ever said anything about the stereo mix being inferior or anything. So like for me, the only horse I have in this race is if you went to a record store in 68 and picked up a Saucerful of Secrets, this is what it would sound like. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, whereas I don't think you have any horse in this race at all.
I
right?
don't.
Yeah. Okay. And actually we'll get to when we talk about value, we'll talk about like if a person should buy both or not, stereo and mono. Price wise, with these Pink Floyd reissues, other than the Wall, which is always outrageously priced, the Wall always goes for like $55 or $60 for a 2 LP set, which it's my favorite record of all time. I think the latest reissue is the best sounding pressing I've ever heard in my life, and that's still crazy pants to charge $55 or $60 for the Wall. This is $30. $30 single LP, rice paper inner sleeves, the way God intended. Other than the packaging thing on the outside, $30. I think that's a great price. Value. If you're a fan of early Pink Floyd and you don't own this record, shame on you. Stop this video now and go buy a copy, any copy of this album from anybody. Stereo, CD, MP3. Go find it on mini disc or a 8-track tape if you can. It's ridiculous that you haven't heard this album if you're a fan of Pink Floyd. Even if you have a stereo pressing of this already and you're a huge Pink Floyd fan, I think it's worth adding this to your collection. If you and I own both, we would be listening to the mono pressing way more than we do the stereo. So for me, the value in these type of things is kind of twofold for me, because it's like if you already own this record, then why would you buy another mix of it, right? So you've only ever heard this in mono, this record.
That is correct, sir.
Right. So you would, based on what you've heard, would you ever be like, I kind of want to hear that in stereo?
No.
Yeah, you're fine with the way that it sounded.
Yeah, I'm cool.
So
no.
Yeah. Robin,
No.
do you have anything to add?
No.
No, I don't. Robin, my brother.
No.
But yeah, I love this pressing. If you don't own it already, buy this pressing. If you're a diehard Pink Floyd fan and you have a stereo pressing, I would add this to your collection. If you're a casual Pink Floyd fan,
well, I would posit this so much because this early Pink Floyd stuff that you've been introducing me to,
I think is way more your speed than you.
Way more my speed than most other Pink Floyds, because this to me in my brain, like, yes, I know cognitively that it's the same band, but my brain doesn't hear this.
In a lot of ways, it's the same people.
It's right, but okay, that's totally fair, because you know how like you're a later Beatles guy, and like
as soon as you started playing like Roy Wood for me and stuff, I was like, oh, this broad's head's gonna explode.
Oh no, this makes complete sense. So I mean, I would say like, if you're kind of like Pink Floyd adjacent, but you're like, oh no, but like I really like the Kinks in the 60s, right? Then
there's a lot of stuff for you here.
Then go here, because it's very British.
Oh,
there's kazoos.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm sold on the kazoos.
There you go. It's kazoos and mono, nonetheless.
My mono kazoo.
Once again, that is Lauren. My name is Russ. We do these vinyl videos every Sunday. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you are an old timer on the channel here, and usually you only watch our vinyl videos, please hit the notification bell as well, because then you'll know that we also have a video on Thursday and our reaction videos on Saturday. If you're in Pink Floyd groups, vinyl groups, anywhere on the internet where they don't sit around saying mean things to people for no reason whatsoever, please share our video on there, because people leave negative comments on the channel. I just delete their comment and block them from the channel. So
you were going into if you're in Pink Floyd groups, my brain totally stopped. I was like, if you're in Pink Floyd.
Yeah. Or if you're
in Pink Floyd.
Or if you're in Pink Floyd and you would like to share your thoughts on the video, that's fine. I'm sure Roger has plenty of critiques that he can share with us about our video. There'd be no problem whatsoever. He'd end up getting his comment removed and his blocked from the channel. So anyways, like I say, my name is Russ. That is Lauren. And as we always say, thank you so much for watching.